Hey everybody, how's it going? I just did a little bit of time on Instagram, and I felt like I should go over to Facebook for a little while. And I'm just going to start reading some American Carnage. Why not? Hope everyone's having a good day. Chapter 22. Here is the RS Canadian Northern Border Wall, Eastport, Idaho, RSA, Kingsgate, British Columbia, Canada. No one out and no one in. A sign posted out alongside the northern wall. A long time ago, it was a lot easier to cross the border into Canada and vice versa, into the Republican States of America. Obviously, times had changed. RS border policy stated, no one out and no one in. The no one in part wasn't new by any means. That bit was policy going back as far as when the RS was still the United States. First, they banned all the Muslims, then the Mexicans and Central Latin Americans, then Africans, then all immigrants in general. It had been like that for over a generation now. The no one out part was to curb the massive explosion of migrants fleeing to Canada. An American could still go on vacation, but their motives and activities were closely scrutinized before being allowed to exit the country. So, what happened was that people would declare that they were going on vacation. They paid the fees to collect the appropriate paperwork. Once gone, they would never return. And it didn't take long for the authorities to catch on to this trick of theirs. The Northern Wall was the calculated fruition of the RS response. Its construction was a ludicrous effort. Every contractor in America wanted a slice of the pie. Many took a much larger slice than they legally should have. As a result, construction costs skyrocketed. Canada had no part in assisting the completion of this 5,525-mile-long, 30-foot-tall eyesore stacked with sniper towers and electrified razor wire. Arnold Jackson was an RS border guard, first class. He was one of those very Due to the increase of migration, murder was increasingly becoming part of his own daily routine. Simply detaining suspected migrants was by and large no longer policy. Now it was shoot on sight. Oh, this thing cut out on me. Become part of his own. Now it was shoot on sight. Which came straight from the desk of Eagleman. Still, though, given the numbers, people continued to believe the outrageous risk was ultimately worth it in the end to get the hell out of America. After all, the RS had made individuals' very identities an illegal act. The artistic types, while many could not fathom it, piece of fucking shit. Keeps trying to reconnect to the router that's not working right now. The artistic types, while many could not fathom it. Life without the expression of creativity. The only place for creativity in this world was to fabricate propaganda, to come up with new weapons and methods of enhanced interrogation. To come up with ads and new ways of cheaply packaging mass-produced items. This was not a place for artists, nor was it expected to be any time in the immediate future. Most of the points of entry into Canada were now closed on both sides. The only major ones that remained were the Windsor-Detroit Tunnel in the east and Kingsgate in the west at Eastport, Idaho. Which does seem a little bit contradictory if one closely examines the words. Life is full of contradictions when you're living it up in the Republican States of America. They built the wall over everything else, from the tops of the mountains to the lowest valleys, even clear across the breadth of some of the Great Lakes. It was a titanic monstrosity to behold. A shrill beep was elicited from the depths of the somewhat massive center console that lay spread out 360 degrees before Ernell Jackson. Movement detected 1.7 miles southwest. Or spoke the console in a British female voice. Movement detected 1.7 miles southwest. There, 1-2, copy, grumbled a voice on the two-way radio attached to Ernell's belt loop. Yeah, you better check that out, Ernie. Yo, I got it, Captain, said Ernell. Yo, I'm zeroing in on him now. Ernell quickly slid open a long port underneath an 8-foot-long expanse of tempered, bulletproof glass, and thereupon checked and loaded his government-issue .55 caliber sniper rifle. He then screwed on sections of the barrel until its length became quite ungainly. He laid the end of the rifle at the opening of the port and pushed the bulk of the barrel outwards. Ernell then unscrewed the port in the back of his head, underneath his ill-fitting midnight blue border police cap. He took a braided black wire out of the bottom left side of the console. He removed the plastic bit at the end and stuck the larger female piece into the computer. He then proceeded to place the other end into the port, going directly into his brain. It did not take long at all before Ernell had them in his laser-guided thermo-optic sights. Ernell zoomed in. A bubbling, churning feeling was felt in his stomach, making him feel like he would soon need to move his bowels. This was usually a precursor to something else. Something bad. Something very fiendish was about to happen. It was what appeared to be an elderly Latino woman and a child hiking through the cover of threadbare, tumor-beridden pine trees. They were both clad in patchwork canvas radiation gear. They hurriedly traversed towards the southern bank of the Moye River with what appeared to be a distinct sense of purpose and gusto. Upon reaching the bank, they thence rapidly inflated a raft and dove into the river. They revealed collapsible paddles and beat on with unexpected force against the churning current full of ice. Yo, where the hell did they expect to go after going across the river? Ernell thought. They're just going to run straight into the fucking wall. It was a wall that was electrified and powered by solar panels. Just what were these idiots thinking? Ernell got on the horn and announced through the loudspeaker, Yo, attention! This is the RS Border Guard. You are trespassing on government property. Turn back now, or we will fire upon you with extreme prejudice. This was more of a warning than most people received. It was only because the individuals in question were an old woman and a school-age child. If the kid were 12 or above, he probably already would have been dropped. Like a bad habit. The child and the old woman emerged on the other side of the river and responded by giving the tower defiantly upraised double middle fingers. Off, said Ernell, not through the loudspeaker. So that's how it's going to be. Lay down on your stomachs and put your hands behind your head, declared Ernell through the PA. You are now under arrest. Ernell didn't read them their rights. He didn't need to. That business had been extinguished long ago as the Republican government found it to be superfluous and unnecessary. Border Patrol vehicles flashing red and blue lights with blaring sirens appeared on both sides of the horizon, from east to west in a flanking maneuver. This was something they always did, something many times, or sometimes many times a day. It usually ended the same way. Either death or incarceration. The question was, how was this going to end? Death? Incarceration? Or perhaps miscellaneous? If you guessed death, then you are correct, my friend. The Mexican woman and the child then revealed themselves, the lab-grown baboon hearts pumping synthetic blood to fool the thermo-optic sensors, the circuitry under their clothes, and there were suicide vests attached to said circuits. "They're nothing but proxies," loudly remarked Ernell, zooming in further still through the magnified sniper scope. It was that very moment was when the miniature plutonium device detonated. It was then the second prong of the assault began to commence, the second bucket, if you will, quoting Sean Spicer, though you probably will not, because normal people don't say that. Normal people do not say that. And if they did say it, they probably shouldn't have. Miles away, to the west, a power relay station was thence blown straight to hell as a beat-up gray pickup truck, its bed capped and packed with ammonia-based explosives, was remotely driven through several layers of reinforced fencing and into the buzzing network of transformers. It was a concentrated operation. It was the work of highly organized human traffickers. What wasn't perhaps as highly organized was what followed. A wave of human bodies, at least 1,000 strong, in thin camouflaged anti-radiation ponchos. They came running en masse, headlong for the border to scale the wall by virtue of sheer numbers alone. The Republican authorities, they called this the African maneuver, as it had been used in great number of times during the refugee crisis of the 2010s while crossing from Africa into Europe. But who were they? They were ignorants, they were artists, they were criminals, and everything else in between. Though all of them had one thing in common, aside from breaking Republican law, an inherent hunger for freedom. Of course, not if Sergeant First Class Ernell Jackson or any of his buddies at the Border Patrol had anything to say about it. And boy, would they. The plutonium device devastated the initial responders. Vehicles rained down from the blackened sky in blazing heaps. Meteorites comprised of scrap filled with the charred remnants of the unwitting and wholly unlucky. It was more complex than a dirty bomb, though it was still very inherently dirty in numerous other respects. One may consider the insidiousness of the manner which was used, the source of said fissionable material, and whose palms had to be greased to acquire such destructive weaponry. Ruski, Republican, terrorist, or otherwise. I don't know about you, but it seems pretty goddamn fucking dirty to me. Well, I guess I'm going to take a break. If you enjoyed that, take her easy.